All right, hi guys. My name's Scott. Got another minute or so, I think, and then we'll get started. All right, I will save the introductions for a minute or so. How are we all doing? Hey, Sandra. Hey, Cheryl. All right, so it's 11 o'clock. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Scott Walker. I'm a physiotherapist, and I've also got a background in strength and conditioning. You can follow me over on Physio Strength Club. That's my handle on Instagram. So I currently work as a specialist musculoskeletal physiotherapist for Pure Sports Medicine in central London. I also run a blog and a website. That's where the Physio Strength, it's called physiostrength.club if you want to check that out. And you can follow me on Instagram and other places like that, Physio Strength Club. So, given my education and my background, I've got a real enthusiasm, a real passion for human performance optimization. I've done lots of reading in and around both physical as well as mental preparation and health and well-being. And so on the back of that, over lockdown, whilst I've been furloughed, I've actually developed a program called the Strong Mind, Strong Body Challenge program, and that will become fairly relevant as I start to speak through about lower back pain. All right, so first off, I don't know if anyone's dressed and ready to do some exercise, but we're going to get there. Initially, for the first 15 to 20 minutes, I'm just going to talk a little bit about lower back pain, bit of education, and do a whole lot of myth busting in and around lower back pain. There's a lot of myths, a lot of misunderstanding out there about lower back pain. Sorry if I talk too fast. I just generally do that. I'm Australian. We talk really fast. If you don't pick up anything, just go back and check it out on the replay. So hopefully get a few more views there for me. All right, so as I said, there's lots of myths around lower back pain, which I'll get onto in a bit. But why am I talking about lower back pain? Well, because it's the number one most disabling condition in the world. Research has consistently shown all the way back into the early 90s that lower back pain was the number one disabling condition in and around the world. And even when you consider all conditions, whether you consider infectious diseases, genetic conditions, it's always ranked really high in terms of sort of healthy life years or lack of healthy life years. That's really so. For example, back in the 90s, I think lower back and neck pain was, say, the 12th worst condition, let's say, for giving you an unhealthy life. By 1995, it sort of moved up in and around 7th or 8th, and even 2015, I think it was the 4th most worst condition for healthy life expectancy. So it's actually getting worse. So it's a very important topic that we talk about today, and it's very important that I try to clear up a lot of the misunderstanding in and around it. Maybe that's one of the reasons why this is getting worse. Maybe that's why it's consistently number one in terms of disabling conditions. So let me start with some myths. There's lots of myths around. The first myth about lower back pain is that lower back pain is a serious medical condition. Now, in a very rare few people, if you're experiencing lower back pain, it could be because you do have a serious medical condition, particularly if your pain is constantly there. It doesn't change with your posture or anything like that. It's there when you're asleep at night. Then you probably want to definitely, as quick as you can, see a medical professional about your lower back pain. However, most lower back pain, though it can be scary, it's in and around your spine. People do worry that maybe that they're going to end up disabled, that they're going to end up in a wheelchair, that they're going to, maybe it could be a life-threatening thing. Most probably not. It's very scary. It can be very painful, but generally lower back pain is not a serious condition. Another myth about lower back pain is that it's inevitable, that the older you get, you're going to get lower back pain. I remember being a physiotherapist working back in the NHS not too long ago, and I'd have patients come in their 70s, 80s, I would assess them, and I would offer them a treatment program. I'd spend up to an hour with them and say, okay, well, this is what you need to work on, and we'll get to that later, how I treat lower back pain. Then they turn around to me and they go, it's just because I'm old, isn't it? I mean, can I really do anything? It's just that I'm old. No, you can do things. Research shows that evidence-based treatment for lower back pain can be effective for any age, from early 20s through to, even your 80s, when people generally experience lower back pain. In fact, there was a study done, I think it was certainly on soldiers. I think it was on Icelandic Finnish soldiers. And they had a bunch of new military recruits, and they experienced lower back pain, and they were unable to actually execute their duties and their training in the military. So that's fairly disabling, lower back pain. So they scanned them. Now I'll get onto scans in a moment, but this was in the late 80s, so scans were very, very ubiquitous then. So they scanned 75 young lads who were in the military, and they found, maybe they found some changes in their back. Maybe I'll talk about scans and tissue changes in a bit, but maybe they found something. Either way, when they followed them up 30 years later, so they were no longer in the military, they were no longer very young, they found that most of them no longer had lower back pain. However, when they rescanned them, they found that there were age-related changes in their back. So even though we can get, I hate to use the word wear and tear, we like to say, as physiotherapists, we like to say age-related changes. If I fall into the old habits of saying wear and tear or degenerative changes, which I'll get onto a bit in scans as well, these aren't things to be scared of. These are normal age-related changes. So even though these men who actually had incapacitating lower back pain when they were in their 20s, they had worse scans, but they no longer had any lower back pain. So that's a good demonstration of, if you're getting old, doesn't mean you're going to get lower back pain, because these people actually improve. So as I was just alluding to, quite often lower back pain has nothing to do with any tissue damage or anything that you are going to see onto a scan. And I'll get onto scans in a bit. Your back is strong. We evolved over millions of years. So why would God, Darwin, evolution put a structure smack bang in the middle of your body that was weak? The spine is both resilient, flexible, strong, as well as flexible. I don't know why anyone would think that we would have this precious, fragile thing in the middle of our body. Now, sometimes you can hurt your back, you can injure it. However, that should only take a few weeks, even up to mostly 3 months, we know with tissue healing, to resolve. But often people have pain for longer than that. This is what we call persistent lower back pain, and often that pain will come back. I'll get on to recurrences in a bit. But if you still have pain after 3 months after hurting your back, or even if it's worsening, even though you're healing up, that's a demonstration that that pain is not really correlated with any tissue damage. Often pain can be caused without any trauma. People wake up, oh, I slept wrong, I've got a sore back. How could you have damaged yourself sleeping? Really, come on. So often pain is related to other things outside of the tissue damage. It could be related to stress, tension, not doing enough, not being active enough, being too active to what you're used to. It can be related to poor sleep. All these things can contribute to lower back pain more so than any damage in your back, in either the age-related changes or actual acute injury. What we do know from research is that it's your mindset that has a lot stronger correlation with how much pain you're in and how long you're going to be in pain for. We know that such things as fear avoidance behavior, which I'll get onto in a bit, like sort of holding yourself and thinking that your spine is fragile and that it's going to break and that, you're made of glass, that will contribute to you having longer and worse back pain. We know if you think, oh, I'm never going to get better, having negative recovery expectations, that can make your back pain worse. That can make you have ongoing pain and other poor pain coping mechanisms when you're in a lot of pain, maybe bracing or whatever like that. They're more strongly associated with persistent back pain and higher intensity pain than any kind of tissue damage. Good analogy that we're physios, we love an analogy that my colleague at Pure Sports Medicine, Steve, uses quite a lot. Is imagine that you're a cup, and all these things, all these stresses, all these things that you need to be resilient against, both mentally and physically, are being poured in. So these are these stresses, and maybe imagine it's not a cup, it's a bucket, and there's a hole in the bucket, and you're letting out the pressure, let's say, and so we can make that hole bigger by a bit of education, a bit of exercise, building some physical and mental resilience, so we can flush it out. However, if you're not managing that well, if you're not managing your physical, you're not managing your mental, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, and all those things are going in, you can experience pain when that cup overflows. So that's an analogy for saying this is what we need to do. When we treat lower back pain, we need to get the flow, the filling, the tap, for example, not coming in as fast, and also optimizing maybe that hole in the bottom that's letting it out. Now, not the perfect analogy, but I hope you get what I'm coming to. So, on from tissue damage. As you can probably tell, and hopefully you're starting to realize that what you see on a scan isn't necessarily what's causing your back pain. And often, if you rush off and get a scan done, or you read a scan and you don't understand certain words, and there are big scary words in scan reports. It could be degenerative changes, it could be wear and tear, it could be osteoarthritis, or it could be other spondylolisthesis or things like that maybe you don't understand, but you might get scared, and then we start going down that pathway, what I was talking before, where kind of expectations and fear are going to make your pain worse. All right, so what we do know about scans is that if we scan anyone over the age of 20, you're going to see some age-related changes, particularly around the discs. I think about 30, 35, 40% of people in their 20s, you will see some kind of change in their disc. And that'll just you'll see more changes. I hesitate to use the word worsen. As you go on, if you scan someone in their 80s, 95, 96, almost everyone in their 80s will have some kind of disc-related changes. Now, you might end up in their 20s, it's probably less likely that you're going to find any kind of joint, facet joints, they're the joints in the spine, changes. But by the time you get up to your 80s, you're probably going to find 80% of those have changes. Now, not 80% of people aren't in pain. Certainly in their 80s, necessarily in their back pain. Another thing I used to like to tell my patients is that if you take two scans and you stuck them up on the wall, and you said one person was in pain, one person wasn't, you would really have no idea just looking at that scan as to which one was in pain. So quite often, invariably, almost all the time, scans do not tell you what is actually causing your pain. It's more likely to be that overflowing cup. Okay, so another myth is that if I have back pain and I move and it hurts, then I'm doing myself some damage. No, not true. I recently heard a consultant say, and it's a good simple message, that you may hurt movement, but it won't harm you. Once again, as I was mentioning, it's not related to any damage. You're probably not doing yourself any damage. It's just hurting. In fact, movement is the best evidence-based practice and treatment for lower back pain. But you want to start off slowly. Your body's obviously becomes sensitized, as I was getting to before with the overflowing cup and all the stresses and the things. Your body becomes sensitive. It's like if you have a friend and you say something that shouldn't be offensive, it's fairly innocuous, and you say it and they snap back and they bite your head off. They're sensitive. Your back has become sensitive. Things that shouldn't hurt, things that shouldn't be a threat, because that's what pain is. Pain is either you've done some damage and there's an actual threat there, but it also can be your body will turn on some pain to make sure that you don't do some damage. Now that's become sensitive. There's a great analogy. We love an analogy as physios of climbing a mountain. And now if you're kind of the stresses and the damage and things going up, the peak is damage where you will actually hurt yourself. Your pain should kick in just below the summit of the mountain. Now, if you become a little bit sensitized, that pain will kick in before you get anywhere near the summit, before you're going to cause any damage. And this is the case when you have a flare, which I will talk about, or you have your back pain. And now I didn't touch on it before, but 80% of people who get back pain are going to get flares. Anywhere from a quarter to 80% of people will get recurrent low back pain. So it's almost inevitable. But when you're moving and you're experiencing pain, that doesn't mean that you're doing any kind of damage. So, for example, you might end up in a situation where leaning back, that causes you pain. Now, I don't want to sort of dial up that pain. I don't want to reinforce that pain. So if it does hurt to lean back, I'm not saying just bang on through it. I'm saying go to your pain and then come back. Maybe for you, it's coming forward. You struggle to get your hands past your knees. So what you want to do is just ease into it. Just use your available range. Oh, if this one's okay, going off to the side, that's fine. And maybe just work your way. And you might find that if you start to teach your back, you start to dampen it down, you start to think, actually, I'm okay. You start to dial down those pain behaviors. You start to dial down that fear avoidance, then your pain levels will come down. So do not be afraid to move. Rest is the worst thing you can do when you have back pain. Now, I'm not saying, I've had serious flares of back pain before. And yes, walking hurt. I need to stop and sit. But that doesn't mean I want to sit all day. We know that rest is probably the worst thing, unless you've got just post-surgery and you've got some sutures or something in there. Rest is very rarely the thing you want to do to treat any condition. Okay, so what's next? Posture, a massive myth in and around posture and back pain. A lot of people think that if you sit slouched, or you have a poor standing posture, maybe you stand with a big arch in your back, or you lift with a rounded back, you're going to cause lower back pain. No, that's not necessarily the case. There's no proof there that your posture massively contributes to your back pain. Now, if you are lifting in an uncoordinated way, maybe you will end up damaging your back, and maybe you'll experience a little bit of pain for a few weeks, but that should quickly resolve. The other thing is if you're lifting things that are too heavy for you. And this is what I'm talking about. We need to build up resilience. We need to build up strength. Adam Meekins on Twitter, if you follow, he's a very well-known physiotherapist, loves to say you can't go wrong with getting strong. Now, and I subscribe to that. I think strength is one of the best things that we need to do. And later on in this session, I'll get onto a few body weight strengthening exercises that I think will help with lower back pain. But don't worry about your posture. In fact, sometimes it's actually good to slouch. If you sit upright all the time, these muscles are switched on, and I'll get onto that in a bit, and they're overworking. Humans are designed to work, recover. As I said, we've evolved to this point. Only 60,000 years ago, even less, we were hunters and gatherers. What we'd do, we'd wake up and we'd chase the animal, we'd hunt, we'd go out and do things, then we'd recover. That's what we're designed to do. So sometimes slouching in a chair can be good for you, because you're taking pressure off, you're relaxing, you're putting pressure in a slightly different place that you might have been doing all day on your feet or standing or sitting. So that can be good for recovery. As physiotherapists, we like to say your best posture is your next posture. So regularly moving, regularly changing your posture is good, as opposed to having a perfect posture. We're all different. We all run slightly different. If you watch a marathon, there'll be, someone will have an arm going like this. We all have slightly different techniques of doing things, and we work within our own abilities. So no, there is no correct posture for anything. And as I was getting onto posture and maybe bracing, another myth is a weak core. A weak core does not cause lower back pain. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do your Pilates and you shouldn't do your core exercises, I believe there was a good back core session this morning, Pilates session. What I'm saying is we used to think in the 90s, they did some EMGs, they did some ultrasounds, they found that people with lower back pain, their core muscles, their abdominals, their transversus abdominis, internals, and other abdominal muscles weren't firing up as well as they should be. But what we do know now is that a weak core does not cause lower back pain. In fact, over kind of concentrating and bracing and sort of moving, trying to keep yourself rigid through your core can contribute to pain. One, it's that kind of fear avoidance behavior. It's like, oh, I need to do this, and that's going to, your brain's going to start dialing up that pain and persisting that pain, keeping those warnings going. But it's a bit like also if I take my wrist and I clench it up, and if I had a sore wrist, then that probably would hurt. So I probably don't want to be doing that. But also, I can't move. Like, I can't get, those tissues to be healthy. I can't keep it fluid and moving. That's what we want. Another little catchphrase that we like as a physiotherapist is movement is medicine. Keep moving. Move. Don't brace. I mean, not saying if you're lifting a heavy weight, you don't need to brace through your core. Intra-abdominal pressure is very important. But what you don't need to be doing is just holding yourself. Oh, I just got to sit down, got to have good posture. I can't move. I've got to switch this on. Core is not the be all and end all of back pain, as I've already alluded to. There's so many other things that can contribute to your lower back pain. But so yes, keep yourself nice and strong. And in a moment, I will go through a few exercises for your core. But no, core is not the be all and end all. Similarly, as I already got onto posture and lifting, repeatedly lifting things does not cause your back pain if you are trained up and you've got the physical resilience and the strength to cope with it. So yeah, so if I drop a pen, I'm not going to go down like this, nice straight spine. I'm just going to flop over. I'm going to pick it back up again. I have no problems leaning forward to pick up a pen. As the weight goes up, maybe I need to brace a little bit more and make sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on some of the structures in my back. But no, it does not cause wear and tear. It does the repeated flexion injuries, repeated extension. Putting a heavy weight on your back and squatting down and coming back up again does not cause lower back pain if you are trained up to do it. If you do stupid things, you're going to end up getting injured. You're going to end up getting pain. You're doing something stupid. Your brain's like, hang on, you're going to hurt yourself. Dial up that pain. Give them that warning. We don't want any damage here. But actually doing loading of your spine, if you're not used to it, is going to cause pain, but it does not damage, it does not wear out your spine, it does not contribute to long-term lower back pain when you're older. All right, how are we going here? So that's about the 8th myth. 9th myth, so let's think. Flare-ups. I haven't talked about flare-ups. As I've already kind of alluded to, flare-ups doesn't mean you've necessarily hurt your back. I mean, you may have twisted, you may have lifted, you might have done something stupid, you may have tweaked something, and yes, maybe it has caused it. But often, as I've already alluded to, you wake up with back pain, or end of the day, it just creeps in. That doesn't mean that you've done any damage unless you're aware of, that went, or even in even those cases, it could be just you're bracing to stop damage. It doesn't mean you've done any back pain. And in fact, as I've already said, not moving, not using your back is going to contribute to you having more back pain. So if you do experience a flare, avoid the things that hurt. As I said, if it's that hurts a lot leaning back, then I won't do that. I'll just let the dials turn down. Your body realizes there's no threat here, and eventually you will be able to work into that. If this way hurts, go as far as you can. Teach your body. Actually, no, it's okay. There isn't any damage here. Don't rest. Don't sit down, and don't immediately jump onto the painkillers. That was my final myth of lower back pain, and that is that if you've got back pain, you should treat your pain or any pain with either you need strong painkillers, or you need an injection, or you might need surgery. Very rare cases do people need back surgery. Don't jump onto the opioids. Try to use your body's natural pain relieving mechanism. Movement is medicine. As I said, don't jump straight onto the opioids. Don't even if you don't even go, If you have a little bit of damage, maybe you have actually tweaked something, 72 hours later, if there's a bit of inflammation there, maybe a bit of ibuprofen can help. Not in the first 72 hours because there's things to do with healing there, but so maybe a bit of paracetamol. Take some paracetamol, though the research isn't strong on that. What you want to do is just move, get your body moving, get it relaxed, get it your natural de-stressing, ease it back down, start letting some more water out of that cup, ensure you're eating well, ensure that you're sleeping well, ensure that you can decrease any stress, and that should start to dial down your back pain. Don't reach for the medication, and no, you don't need surgery. You probably don't need a scan. Almost definitely initially don't need a scan, and yeah, don't need to get any injections or anything like that, some steroids or stuff like that. So yeah, how I treat lower back pain, I think you can sum it up. When someone comes into the clinic, I try to educate them on taking some of that water out of the filling up cup and move. Take care of your sleep, take care of your diet, take care of all the other things that are overloading you that you don't have the physical and the mental resilience for. All right, so how about we move on to